Welcome to Whispers in the Dark, where we delve into the most spine-chilling tales that will haunt your dreams. Tonight, we bring you 5 stories that will make you question every shadow and every whisper. Are you ready to face the darkness within? Let's begin. The city lights blurred into streaks of neon as Maria stared out the rain-slicked window of the late-night bus. She was exhausted, the weight of the day pressing down on her like an invisible hand. The bus rumbled through the desolate streets, each bump jarring her back to unwanted alertness. She was alone, she thought, grateful for the solitude. A quick glance at her reflection in the window told a different story. There, in the seat behind her, a figure sat shrouded in shadow. A chill snaked down her spine. The seat had been empty just moments ago. She swiveled her head, heart pounding, but the seat was indeed empty. Had she imagined it? Her gaze darted back to the window, to the reflection that held her captive. The figure was still there, closer now, its face obscured by the darkness, yet its eyes burned with an eerie intensity that pierced through the reflection, locking onto hers. Maria's breath caught in her throat. This was no trick of the light. She tried to rationalize it away, a figment of her tired mind, but fear had already taken root, twisting her insides into knots. She stole a glance at the bus driver, his face illuminated by the dashboard lights. A grotesque smile stretched across his face. His eyes, cold and vacant, locked on her reflection in the rearview mirror. He knew. He had to know. Maria's heart hammered against her ribs, each thump a frantic plea for escape. But there was nowhere to go. Not while trapped in this metal coffin, hurtling through the heart of the city where the line between reality and nightmare had become terrifyingly blurred. The woods were already cloaked in twilight as Amir and his friends ventured in, the fading light painting long, distorted shadows that danced around them. They were young, fueled by bravado and a thirst for adventure, the dense woods holding an irresistible allure. The sound of laughter, high-pitched and childlike, drifted through the trees, beckoning them deeper into the wood's embrace. They pressed on, their own laughter echoing through the silent trees, their confidence growing with each step. The laughter came again, closer now, but something about it felt off, a subtle shift in tone that sent chills down their spines. It was no longer the carefree sound of a child, but something twisted, distorted, laced with an unsettling undercurrent that spoke of something ancient and unknowable. They exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the forest pressing down on them like a suffocating blanket. The laughter morphed into a mocking cackle, echoing all around them, making it impossible to pinpoint its source. Panic flared, their earlier confidence dissolving into a primal fear that tightened their throats and quickened their steps. They were lost, hopelessly turned around, each path they took leading them deeper into the wood's haunting embrace. The laughter was constant now, surrounding them, suffocating them, a chorus of inhuman glee that signaled their impending doom. They realized with a dawning horror that they were not alone, that something lurked in the shadows, toying with them, herding them like prey. And it was then, as the last vestiges of daylight bled away, that they saw it. A fleeting glimpse of something monstrous, its eyes gleaming with malevolent joy, its laughter echoing through the trees, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. Chapter 3. The Room That Breathes. Rain lashed against the windows of the old bed and breakfast, the wind howling like a banshee as Lisa struggled to shut out the storm's fury. She had taken refuge in the only vacancy, a room at the end of a creaky hallway, its wallpaper peeling, its furniture draped in dusty sheets. She told herself it was just the storm, the wind finding its way through the old building's bones, but doubt gnawed at her. The whispers started subtly, soft murmurs that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, weaving between the creaks and groans of the ancient structure. Lisa tried to ignore them, burying herself under the heavy quilts, her heart thudding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. But the whispers persisted, growing louder, more insistent, morphing from indistinct murmurs into barely audible words that sent chills down her spine. Then came the breathing. At first it was faint, a rhythmic rise and fall that she mistook for her own, amplified by the storm's roar. But as the night wore on, the breathing grew deeper, more labored, accompanied by a creaking, groaning sound as if the room itself were inhaling, exhaling, its wooden ribs expanding and contracting around her. Lisa lay frozen, every instinct screaming at her to flee, to escape the suffocating confines of the room, but terror rooted her to the spot. The wallpaper, once a faded floral pattern, now pulsed with a sickly yellow light, its surface undulating like flesh. The air grew heavy, thick with the stench of mildew and decay, making it almost impossible to breathe. As the storm raged outside, Lisa realized with growing horror that the room was alive, its wooden lungs working overtime to consume her, its whispered secrets a prelude to a fate too terrifying to contemplate. Chapter 4. The last photograph. Dust motes danced in the beam of sunlight that sliced through the attic's gloom as Ravi rummaged through his grandfather's old trunk. He unearthed a treasure trove of forgotten memories, yellowed photographs and faded love letters, each item a tangible link to a past he had never known. At the bottom of the trunk, nestled amongst moth-eaten scarves and tarnished pocket watches, lay a Polaroid camera. It was surprisingly heavy in his hands, its leather case cold to the touch. Intrigued, Ravi loaded the camera with film, eager to capture the present as a way of honoring the past. He gathered his family in the backyard, their laughter echoing in the summer air, and snapped a few pictures, the familiar whir of the developing film a comforting sound. As the images slowly materialized, a knot of unease tightened in Ravi's stomach. There, in the background of each photograph, stood a figure shrouded in shadow. It was tall and gaunt, its edges blurring into the background as if it were trying to seep into the image itself. Ravi showed the pictures to his family, their initial amusement quickly fading as they noticed the unsettling figure lurking in the shadows. They dismissed it as a trick of the light, a flaw in the old film. But Ravi couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. He continued to take pictures, each image revealing the shadowy figure closer now, its features becoming more distinct, its eyes burning with an eerie intensity. Then the unthinkable happened. Ravi was developing his latest Polaroid when the image flickered to life, revealing not the family portrait he intended, but a chilling image of himself, alone, the shadowy figure standing directly behind him, its skeletal hand resting on his shoulder, its face a mask of pure malice. Ravi spun around, his heart pounding in his chest, but there was nothing there. The room was empty, or so he thought. Chapter 5. The Door That Never Opens. The old house stood on a windswept hill, its silhouette a brooding presence against the stormy sky. Sarah had bought it for a steal, its charm outweighing the whispers of its unsettling history. She had been warned about the basement door, the one hidden behind a wall of decaying drywall, the one her realtor had expressly forbidden her from opening. Some things, he had said, his voice barely a whisper, are best left undisturbed. But Sarah was not one to be deterred by local law or superstitious whispers. She was a woman of logic, of reason, and she refused to be intimidated by an old house and its secrets. The first few nights were uneventful, the silence broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards and the mournful howl of the wind. Then the whispers began. They were faint at first, like the rustle of silk against silk, emanating from behind the basement door. Sarah tried to ignore them, but they persisted, growing louder, more insistent with each passing night. They spoke of forgotten rituals, of ancient pacts, and of a darkness that hungered for release. One night the whispers morphed into pleas, desperate and haunting, begging for freedom from their confinement. Sleep eluded Sarah, the whispers worming their way into her dreams, transforming them into vivid nightmares that left her breathless and terrified. Driven by a morbid curiosity she couldn't explain, Sarah found herself drawn to the basement door. The whispers grew louder as she approached, their pleas turning into demands, their tone laced with a chilling menace that sent shivers down her spine. She knew she shouldn't, every fiber of her being screaming at her to turn back, but the whispers had a hypnotic pull, a siren song that drowned out reason and fueled her morbid fascination. With trembling hands, Sarah reached for the doorknob, the cold metal sending a jolt of fear through her. She hesitated for a moment, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. Then she took a deep breath and turned the knob, unleashing a darkness that would forever consume her. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows. Remember, the next time you hear a whisper in the dark, it might just be one of these tales coming to life. But don't let the fear paralyze you, let it empower you. Embrace the unknown, for it is in the darkness that we truly discover ourselves. Until next time, stay safe and sleep well.